Will Smith and Chris Rock. Listen, I just want to just briefly share something here that I think is important regarding the Will Smith and Chris Rock's situation. When I saw that last night, the first thing that I said to myself was, Chris Rock crossed boundaries, and Will Smith is acting out of lack of impulse control. So I talk about trauma all the time, and people think that when we talk about trauma, we're just making excuses for other people. It's not making excuses for anybody. The situation here is that the truth is Will has been dealing with his own trauma for a long time. He's talked about it openly. He's talked about it with his wife, with his family, in his book. So I don't think anyone is surprised, if you understand trauma, that Will had a trauma response last night. To me, the excuse that people are making for Chris Rock, that Chris didn't know about Jada's alopecia, maybe it's true, maybe he didn't know. I find it difficult, and here's why. Chris Rock did this fantastic documentary a few years ago about good hair, right? Trying to explore how women relate to hair, especially women of color, and how they're influenced by it or not. So when you do a documentary, this is my thinking, I would think that you are really interested in research. You're doing research work and you're following up, right? Because that documentary could have a part 2, a part 3, on and on and on, because it was such a good documentary. So you would think that he would be alert and aware to the many ways in which women are still struggling with hair issues, especially in the Hollywood world. So for him to tell me that he didn't know about Jada's alopecia, I want to take it with a grain of salt. Maybe it is true. I just find it difficult to accept. Now, he hasn't said it. People are saying this. So I'm going to drop that, because I'm just of the opinion that he had to have known. But even if he didn't know, how do you make a documentary, right, regarding women and hair, especially when he talked about how he was prompted to do this because his daughter had talked to him about women and hair issues, specifically Black women and hair issues. So you're coming from this place where you come from a Black woman, you have Black daughters, you were married to a Black woman, right? You live in a world with Black women, and yet you come out to make a joke about a Black woman's hair on national, in fact, on international television, because the Oscars is watched all around the world. How do you make such a joke and feel as if it is going to fly and be okay? Now, people are saying someone wrote this joke for him. My thing is, even if someone wrote the joke for you, don't you read it before you come out to present it? And if you aren't reading as a comedian, that's a problem. That is a problem. So now, beyond that, what I really want to talk about today is the trauma response that came from Will. When we experience something bad, our body becomes overwhelmed, right? That's what trauma is our body becoming overwhelmed by this bad thing. And it takes our body kind of out of, coherent functioning. And we really don't know what to do with ourselves, right? Which is why we have the 3 ways that we respond: fight, flight, or freeze. Obviously, last night, Will did not run, and he didn't freeze. He fought. It is a trauma response, and it is wrong, right? It is not right. It should not be condoned. However, we know, and I know as a trauma professional, that the trauma brain is not a rational brain. I say this over and over and over. The trauma brain is not a rational brain. So many of you who know Will's story, and some of you who don't, if you follow his story, what you know is that as a child, I think he was around 9 or 10, as a child, he saw his father abuse his mother, and he couldn't fight. As a married man, they've talked openly about how he has felt over the years, since he really became more aware through, I guess, counseling with Jada and all of that. He has felt like he really let his family down, especially his wife down, because he hasn't been present for her like he should have been. He thought that by giving her all of the, financial benefits or experiences, that she was going to be grateful to be married to him. And what he's come to realize is that what she's wanted more than anything else is his presence. So he couldn't give her his presence. And so that already has put a wedge in the marriage. It's been a source of conflict for them, right? Hence the entanglement and all of that. And so now he's trying to repair his marriage. He's trying to fight for his marriage, being present, trying to do all the right things. And on his biggest night, the only joke that Chris Rock could make was one about his wife's hair. If you think about it, as a young man, you couldn't protect your mom because you were so afraid of your father that you couldn't speak or you couldn't do anything to help your mom. Then you get married and you let your wife down because you are not present for her. Now you are at this international event, and a man who looks like you is literally disgracing, minimizing, and belittling your wife in your presence. And then you turn and you see your wife's face, and she is in pain, emotional pain. And the man doesn't stop the joke. Now people say, oh, Will was laughing too. Will was laughing because Will is a comedian by profession. And he had been laughing at a previous joke. And he continued giggling. And then he realized what Chris had said about his wife. And when he looked at his wife, he saw the pain in her face. And to be honest with you, as I watched that, I thought in that moment, Chris Rock would have paused the joke or switched the joke. But he continued the joke, in fact, justifying the joke. Go back and watch. Oh, it was good, something to that matter, right? Oh, it was good. You don't do that. You don't poke someone and then say, oh, it's not that painful. And so Will lost it. It was a trauma response. Nothing about last night was good. Chris's joke was completely out of order. There's a whole code, I think, ethical and moral code that he didn't even follow. And Will's response was completely out of order. So all of this is wrong. And there's a whole other piece of this I'm going to talk about at some point, because I hear many women, even some professional women, right, in our field, talking about how if you have a man and he tells you he's going to fight for you, you need to leave him. I don't know. Now, I don't want my husband in the street throwing fits. No, I don't want that, right? I don't want him, fisting someone out and being violent and all of that. But I sure wish that if someone chose to disrespect me, that my husband would, quote unquote, fight for me. So I don't know whether it is just that we're not used to this as women. And so we think it's strange for someone to do this, not the way Will did it, right? But I keep hearing this. What I'm not hearing is, well, I want my husband to fight, but not to be physical. I'm not hearing that. I keep hearing, I don't want him out there fighting. I don't want him out there disgracing himself for me. Well, maybe something is just wrong with me, but I will tell you this, and I'm going to wrap this up for now. Most of the cases that I have, that I work with as a marriage and family therapist, most of them have to do with women coming in who feel as if their husbands are not protecting them or fighting for them enough. Most of my cases. So as I watched that last night, I even said to my husband, I said, I feel for Will because he was in a very tight place. Right? Again, reviewing his trauma story, not being able to save his mother, not being able to fight his father and get him off his dad. then disappointing his wife and not being present for her when she needed him, thinking that he could do it materially, and then trying to make things right, now having to face Chris on the stage disgracing his wife in the public regarding her health issues. No one knows the pain that he sees his wife in at night. No one knows the pain. And so he was just fighting. It was a total lack of impulse control. So both men were wrong last night. And I'll talk more about other parts of this here later on. But I wanted to really come and talk about this. It was a trauma response, even though it was wrong. I'm glad that he's put out a statement. Hopefully, the two of them can heal. I hope Chris and Will can sit together and have a conversation man to man. What do I wish? I wish Chris had never made the joke. I wish he had never gone down that road. I feel like he had a lot of material to work with. Will and Jada have openly put out the entanglement story. It's out there. Use it. You're a comedian. Work with that. You could have gone after Will and made a lot of crazy jokes about Will, right? But this hiding behind joke to embarrass a man's wife, I think is wrong. I think it's wrong. And I think we all need to rethink the way we joke and the way we embarrass people and their spouses. I hope they heal. I truly hope they heal. They're two good men. And so I hope they heal. And that life goes on from here in a much better way for all. Love you all. Remember, it takes a village. Take care. Bye-bye.